like you. My name is Kim Lantis, broadcasting live from one of Nearsoft's offices in Hermosillo, Mexico, as well with my teammate and coworker, Carlos Ponce. He's in our Mexico City office. Hey there, Carlos. So today's guest is here to talk to us about democratizing of entity resolution. So I'm pleased to present Jeff Jonas, the founder and CEO of a company called Senzing, the first real-time AI for entity resolution. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jeff. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm calling in from New Zealand, working remotely.
From down under, you poor thing. What time is it there for you right now? I still see a lot of daylight.
Than it is for you.
So you're actually tomorrow.
Yeah, I am in the future.
You are in our future.
I am in the future. The whole company works remote. Anybody can work from anywhere they want. That includes if they want to work at a WeWork with a few other human beings, or they want to work if they want to work as they travel the world. It's all good.
Perfect. Well, that's awesome. Good morning then, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us. And we at Nearsoft actually also adhere to this idea of this working from home and remote element. So it's good to see that overlap in our cultures. A lot of benefit there, I think. So Jeff, as we get started, please share a little bit with us about your background and ultimately how that perhaps led to the creation of Senzing. What gave birth to the idea behind your company, or what problems it are that you're trying to solve?
So I had a software company, and we were located in Vegas. The company was called Systems Research and Development, and we built some software for the casinos. We called it NORA, Non-Obvious Relationship Awareness. It helped the casinos better understand who they were doing business with. And ultimately, we did a couple rounds of venture capital in the early 2000s. And then IBM bought the company in 2005, January of 2005. And really the technology now would be called this class known as entity resolution. It's figuring out when two people are the same when they've possibly been described differently. Like one record says William and one says Bill.
Okay.
So IBM buys my entity resolution company, and then I spent a decade working at IBM, which was unexpected. I was the largest shareholder. No one expected me to stay, but I really love this type of work. It's so fundamental to so many businesses. And then while at IBM, we started working on a next generation entity resolution engine. We codenamed it G2. We started in 2009. And in 2012, we started shipping it. And we had some great deployments. And then in 2016, I talked IBM into a one-of-a-kind spin-out that they've never done. It's a really unique partnership. And so we formed Senzing, S-E-N-Z-I-N-G. It's kind of like the word sensing, but it's got a Z in it. So
I see what you did there.
And the .com was available, so we took it. And so what we're doing is we have this really proven engine that figures out who is who in data. It matches identity data, people or companies, and we're making it so easy. It is so easy to use now that it doesn't need training or tuning, and doesn't need experts. And unlike all the other technologies out there that do this, they're expensive and require experts, and we let people just download it and try it for free and clean up their address book if they want, for starters, then clean up salesforce.com, and then go solve big problems on 100 million record data sets if they want, or bigger.
Wow, so that's the idea behind the democratizing, like making it accessible, affordable.
Yeah, there's like 50 companies out there that do entity resolution, and they all say call for a quote. And the really high quality stuff, and I've been guilty of this myself in all prior versions of Bad Jeff, is these are really $1 million software minimum investments to get into, and only the elite can afford it. Mm-hmm. And now literally, if you're a pet store owner and have duplicates in your Christmas mailing list, you can download it and use it for free. If you want to compare your vendors to this U.S. government regulatory list called OFAC, O-F-A-C, to make sure you're not, none of your vendors are on OFAC. As long as you have less than 10,000 records, that's free too. So we've just made it really accessible and easy. You don't even need an IT department to use the desktop app version. And then we have a big engine.
That's really great. That's really great. So let's talk about this 10,000 or less. What percentage of businesses or so do you think from your experience, fall into that category then? Like how broad did you open? It's pretty much everybody.
It is. We're really, a lot of these other companies out there where they're trying to sell a few pieces of software expensively to a few big companies. And while we'll take that business as well, and we're perfect for that, we just wanted to get into the long tail. We wanted to get all the way down to somebody that just wants to find all the duplicates in their address book or clean up their Salesforce.com duplicates. They literally, unless they have more than 10,000 records, they can just do it for free. You don't even have to enter an email address. And it's what's different is you download the software, no data flows to us, like it all runs local. So we're not even we don't even have a play to get your data. You don't get any data.
Wow, that's very, very cool. So let's talk about talking about this entity resolution, this idea. Let's bring it a bit down to earth for those 10,000 or less people similar to me who might not exactly understand what that is, or perhaps even the benefits of that. So can you explain why this is important and this problem?
Yeah, so when I ask people, I start with your address book. It's not a super high value proposition because it's just your address book. But if I were to ask you, Kim, do you have duplicates in your contacts? Mm-hmm. Most people admit that. They go, yes, I do. So then I ask you this question is imagine that you're the only curator. You're the person that owns that data, is only a few hundred or a few thousand names in there, and you have duplicates and you're the only curator. Well, imagine a social services agency, or imagine a bank or an insurance company. I mean, these organizations have hundreds or maybe thousands of people that have been entering data, and imagine how many duplicates they have. And it really, it shows up it shows up all over the place. I go check into one of these very popular hotel chains, and they ask me which of me I am in their loyalty club. They go, we have 3 of you in Las Vegas. And they tell me a little bit about all 3. And I go, I'm all 3 of them. They're like, which one do you want to be today? That's a duplicate problem. We've applied this entity resolution over the years to just all kinds of domains, from hunting for bad guys, helping financial institutions ferret out, fraudsters trying to rip off their customers. It gets used to look for insider threat if you have employees that have gone corrupt and are, in collusion with your workforce or the vendors. And it gets used in marketing. I mean, I don't know, many people have seen this. You get marketed by, let's say, a bank, and you're thinking to yourself, why are they marketing to me? It says, come be a customer, and you're thinking, I am already a customer. That's ridiculous.
That's very, very cool. I totally get your point. It's let's make life easier. So let's talk a bit about Senzing. It's my understanding that it uses AI, artificial intelligence. So
actually, get this. It doesn't use AI. Then you're like, but why do you? No, it's better. It's better than that. We invented an AI.
So it's your own thing.
We built AI to do this. We didn't use AI to do this. We built an AI to do this.
It took us one step closer to the machine revolution.
No.
So let's talk about that. You built it. What limitations then did you surpass with your own technology?
Well, in the past, in this whole field, the work that we've done and all these other companies that do entity resolution, you have to train the software on the data. You have to tune it, and then you have to reload it and try it again. And then it takes an expert to do that. Train, tune, reload, train, tune, reload. Okay. And it's expensive. You have to hire experts. There's only so many people that are experts and, in this dark art of entity resolution. So only the wealthy, the elite, the largest organizations in the world can get it. And so now, the biggest thing to overcome was a system that is self-learning, self-tuning, and doesn't have to be reloaded. It literally, you can just run it. You can run it on people data or company data from the US, India, China, Singapore. You can run them all at the same time. All those different countries, people and company data, and it just works straight away. It doesn't need any time to actually, it gets smarter over time But out of the box, people just run it and just are generally blown away. They're just like, that's incredible. So we've taken something that was millions of dollars invested in it, and now just let people download it and run small record sets for free. So we made it self-service. That was the hard part, making it self-tuning and self-correcting.
Which says a lot, I guess, for your company's culture. You already talked about a bit on this idea of you can work from anywhere, and now you're talking about this idea of making things accessible to the masses. And you even mentioned yourself the old Jeff, the bad Jeff, or something of those sorts.
Bad Jeff.
So, so what was the shift? Let's talk about that in your experience. And also, I think it's really great, the technology that you've talked about, I think, of catching the bad guys, right? The fraudulent people or whatever that might be. So what else is there? Can you share with us about your company culture and how you got there?
Well, one of the unique things about the IBM spin-out is we got access to the code that we've been working on for many years. But I also got the privilege to bring most of my team with me. So the average core engineer on my team has been working with me for 12 years. And which is really the level of technical efficiency we have is just, it's incredible. We have 1 half-an-hour meeting a week for engineering, and we usually finish in 15 minutes. I mean, it's incredible. We just have an incredible team. So there's the way we run the company, it's really flat. Anybody can talk to anybody. Anybody can bypass anybody. People tend to come and work with me and everybody else. They get so much pleasure out of it. Very few people ever leave. It's fun, and it's effective work. It's really fun when you work on things where you can see the effect out in the world. When you find out that your software has helped save some $200 million in fraud to consumers, like $200 million that it would have been, fraud taken from you. When we find out about a project where we've helped that, or another project where we helped reunify loved ones after a natural disaster because of entity resolution, the team just gets a lot of joy out of that. It's like, woohoo!
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, it's not just about, I think profit is the byproduct of a purpose.
That is totally true. If you create something valuable, the money just flows.
Okay,
yeah, just create valuable stuff. We're just trying to make it now that it'll dissolve under your tongue. Like, it's value. Entity resolution's always been valuable. It's just been hard. So now it's just like, now you can just download it and try it, and it just dissolves under your tongue.
Well, congratulations. That's really, really exciting. So you've had this kind of whole journey to reach where you are, but as a founder of your company, if you had the opportunity to start over, would you? And if you would, what would you perhaps do differently? Why?
I wouldn't start over. Well, I'll tell you one more story. The SRD company that I had, which was, I had started in the early 80s, and then we sold IBM in 2005. But in 2003, I had this revelation one day that I wasn't a real CEO. Like, I now and then think I'm a triathlete, and then the 17-year-old passes me, and then I think, okay, I'm not a triathlete. But I had lunch with somebody, and the way he was talking, I'm like, oh man, that's a real CEO. What am I? So I hypnotized him, and he became the CEO. His first big decision was, he'd tell me I wasn't a very good chairman of the board either. So I demoted myself to vice chair, but I had adult supervision, and I demoted myself to chief scientist. What is happening in Senzing is, after working most of my life for myself, and then 11 years for IBM as the chief scientist of context computing, entity resolution is a part of context computing, and being an IBM fellow, which is really prestigious, one of 70, I learned enough new things that I'm now enjoying the business design. And the engineering here, well, I love to be involved in the engineering. Our engineering is totally under control. It is like, doesn't need any more of my help. So I'm really enjoying the business design. And part of this design is to create things that are friction-free, so that people can just benefit from this really advanced technology at an order of magnitude less, or free or an order of magnitude less expensive. When you get to 50,000 records, it's $5 a month.
Right, which was completely manageable.
Yeah. So anyway, I wouldn't start over, and I love what I'm doing. It's a hobby. It's not even work. I don't even have a job. Like, it's just so fun.
That's incredible to hear.
Sounds very near South, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities there, and congratulations for that. And yeah, I guess I think you could see as a CEO, the best thing you did was to know when to get out of the way.
Yeah, that's one thing to know. And I pondered that early on, and I'm not there yet. I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still, I think, fit for purpose. But that's something that founders forget to do, especially technical founders, is they don't know when to step aside.
Mm-hmm.
And now and then, that's not been a problem. I mean, look at the great successes of the big companies out there, But that's not that time in my company. When it does become that time, I will step aside and become the chief scientist or whatever I'm going to have fun doing, because I do. It's fun. But that, I don't know when that time will be. It may or may not come.
No. I mean, get out of the way in the sense that, like, recognize. We actually had another guest speaker on Dojo Live with a company called, I cannot recall his name, but his company was called Chorus, and what they actually do is build software for CEOs. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that he learned in his life was, as a CEO, this ability to recognize and understand that you don't have to be an expert in everything. You just have to know and be able to trust the people who are.
I see what you're saying. By stand aside. Because in the first company, I just stood aside. I just put a CEO in place and then really stood aside. But yeah, when you have a team you can trust, and I certainly have that. But still, the role of CEO is to be able to orchestrate the resources in a way to maximize the opportunity and minimize the risk. Mm-hmm. And I'm enjoying that right now. Our company, including our heavily involved consultants and interns, is in the 20s, and I'm still enjoying it. There's not too much administrivia. We run a really simple organization.
In the 20s of 20
people. We're maybe it's 28 people, including our heavily involved consultants, contractors, and interns, plus my full-time employed workforce, of course. Count everybody, we're at about 35, if you count advisors and stuff. But anyway, it's a decent size, and we're really productive. We're punching way above our weight. We just came out of full stealth in June.
Nice.
And yeah, we're going to democratize entity resolution.
And you're excited about it. I see this, like, we're going to
democratize. It's true. We're going to democratize. The pet store owner with duplicates on our mailing list deserves to actually solve that problem. The fact there's nothing to solve that problem in any mature, high-quality way, I don't know. I'm just making it not elite anymore. We certainly have software that solves problems for the elite. It's super sophisticated. But the fact we have shrunk it down so you can run it on a Mac or a Windows laptop and run 1 million or more records without an expert. Yeah, it's insane. Like, no one's done that.
Like, 1 million isn't even a number that I think I can fully comprehend. And it's a small number, relatively speaking. Very good. So I think, Carlos, as we're coming down to the end of our time today, are there any questions coming in from Twitter or anywhere else?
Yeah, actually, yes. This question here is coming from Aurora, one of our teammates. She's in Hermosillo right now. So Aurora, what she wants to know, Jeff, is basically, well, she told me that she's kind of playing around with the website, Senzing's website, and she noticed like these little things that move around like a web, when you
drag it.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that kind of might not be entirely related to entity resolution from my standpoint, but still, I think it's an interesting question. Her question is, how do you go about planning for UX UI experience being optimal towards the end user?
I must admit, if I were to change anything, I hired 3 different web companies before I even came out of stealth. And 90 days before I came out of stealth, I started over again. You know, you really don't want to turn on your thrusters until you've got your alignment set up. Otherwise, you're wasting resources. So I got a really great web UX person in the third attempt, and they've created just really high quality stuff. And then after that, you do A/B testing. You get feedback, and you look at the effectiveness and the yields that you get. You know, we want people to show up at the website and find it irresistible to download. Just click the button and download. You don't even have to do an email address. Like, that's crazy. And so now that we're out of stealth, we'll be measuring that, and then we'll be A/B testing that. We'll also be branding. We're going to take that web experience and look and feel and brand that all the way through the app. Right now, if you run the app, it's a nice looking app, but it doesn't have the exact same look and feel as the web. And even though you download it and run it local, we just really want people to be able to experience it as one flow.
I think that's, I do notice that when I did a bit of my research before coming on today's talk, I was like, oh, what a cool little feature. And I was like, even think I spent like 2 or 3 seconds just playing with it before I started to search other things. And it was really fun. And I appreciate that. I think at Nearsoft, we do have a UX UI area. And I think it's interesting that overlap also of, like you said, it's a really important element that unfortunately a lot of people just don't take into account.
That kind of, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, Kim, that kind of leads me to the next question that I have for Jeff is, this is of course, this is a UX feature, but how do you go about in general validating new features and functionalities in the market?
In the market or in our product? You mean like what new features to add, or how do we test features that we've added?
Yeah, how do you validate them before launching, for example, or before going to the next step, so to speak, or taking the next leap forward? In the case of Senzing,
we're fortunate in that our team has over 200 years of experience deploying entity resolution engines, and so we really know what the universe needs. Nearly whole spectrum, like literally nearly whole spectrum. And so what we're really only trying to do now, and we have more features planned for this G2 class of technology. G2 is the code name that we were building it. So we have a roadmap of the things that we already know the world needs, and we have an order in which it's getting built. It's why I don't need to do much more with it. Where we are spending our energies, though, is allowing the average person who's not an IT person, who doesn't know how to program, who just has learned what a CSV is, a comma-separated file. We want that person to be able to have a really smooth experience. And so that's not a bunch of features so much as simplification. So we're really now just creating simplification.
It's the opposite almost.
Yeah, it's a unique problem not to have. We've had that over the years. We've had a lot of having to learn about what features are needed. But I'd say that 90% of the features that we need, we already know what they need, what our customers need. And now it's about putting them in the right order. So that creates the most value the quickest. And we have a few years worth of features to add. Not to the core engine. The core engine mainly does everything we need it to do. I mean, we've been coding on it for 9 years. It's a high-speed transactional real-time engine. You can give it billions of records and do thousands of things a second in a real time. I mean, it's a hardcore engine. Again, it's the GUI and the user interface experience where all the work is now.
I think our developers who are listening to you probably truly know that.
It's all in C++. It's super low latency.
I was going to ask you that. Very cool. Very cool. As we come to the end of our time together today, Jeff, I wanted to ask you if you have any final words of wisdom, and of course, if people want to know more about you or Senzing, where they might look.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Like, I'm wisdomless.
Yeah, good luck. Good news, I'm out of stealth. Senzing.com or Jeff Jonas Senzing will you'll find what we're doing. And we have a knowledge center where all of our, we've published all of our articles, so people can just go and read our technical articles. If you're a programmer and you want to integrate entity resolution into your product, that just uses the core engine API. So if you have C, Java, or Python and you want to embed entity resolution like a microservice, like a function into your system, our documentation's online. You can just cut and paste Java code and add it to your app. I mean, it is that easy. All of that's available on our Senzing.com webpage. Under support, you'll find the Knowledge Center. You'll find our API docs. Easy, easy, easy. Finally, that's the main point. We're democratizing entity resolution. It's human smart. We use the word AI because it's human smart. When you look at the results, you're just like, wow. A human might catch a few things you wouldn't catch, but it'll catch a lot of things a human would not catch.
Right. Very cool. But somewhat frightening, but very cool.
Frightening. Gonna help you.
Of course. No, it's just one of those things where it's like, really? I think we're getting to, me personally, getting to the point where like, it's spectacular. It's exciting, but also a bit like, the machine can do that. It's spectacular. I'm very excited and very happy for you, Jeff, to see the passion and purpose that you have brought into your life and the life of those who work with you. And congratulations for that. And thank you for making things democratic.
Yeah, and also, folks, don't forget that if you're watching this interview at a later time, of course, all the information, contact info for Senzing is going to be right there on the landing page. And so you can just go out and reach out to Jeff or to his company. So that's all I have for now, Kim. As ever, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you both here, and that's pretty much it for me, Kim. You want to do the wrap up, please?
I think you just did. It was a pleasure. It was very fun. Thank you for your time today, Jeff, and for everyone else. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
And, Kim. By the way, before we real quick, we usually do this. A quick announcement for tomorrow. No, wait a minute. That's going to be for next week, by the way. We are going to have, let's see who we have next week. We're going to have Mr. Sunay Tripathi. He's the CTO from EV and Vice President of the Product Engineering for Mobile X. That should be interesting. We don't have the, do we have the topic for next week, Kim? Do we have no, we don't yet. So
I won't be speaking.
No, we don't have it, but it's Mobile X. And also pluribus networks. So that should be interesting because this gentleman used to be part of Sun Microsystems. That's the company that one of our founders was part of many years ago. So that should be interesting. So stay tuned, folks, for Sunay Tripathi from Mobile Edge X. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Jeff Jonas at Senzing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
bye, everybody.